to another Habs Nation Locker Room Report with hockey coach your coach Frenchy directly for the beautiful country of Thailand. And tonight they are back for the third week. I'm talking about Marko Larabie directly for Hawkesbury in Ontario, and of course Mr. Enortap downtown in Toronto. Welcome back in the house.
Hey Marko, coach. Hockey Nation.
We want to thank Danny to clean up the locker room last week, so this look like better this week. Smell better and ready. I tried to hit you, but you duck and Marko, and then the Enortap got it behind the head. So that's happening about that one.
Byron was very upset when you tried to whip me with the wet towel, but so he's a good protector.
But before we start, we have a new subscriber, I believe, but he is new in the house. I'm talking about Comfort, Quebec. I will call this way, Comfort, Quebec. Welcome in the house. Welcome in the family, the Hockey Nation show. This is the place you want to talk about your Montreal Canadiens. This is the one you have to come here every Sunday night and Wednesday night. We talk about Montreal Canadiens, but we have other night. We talk a lot about Montreal Canadiens. So at the end of the day, you show up at 9 o'clock Eastern time. You tell to your wife, your family, whatever, your friends, hey, don't bother me. I need to watch the Hockey Nation, Habs Nation at Monday to Sunday night. That's what we got. Thanks so much to be a part of the show tonight. We have a few people knock the door. We're going to go quick. We're on the schedule tonight. We have to get out. We have 5 questions for Mr. Enortap and Marko tonight. We have a Q&A during the show. And first of all, we're going to welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gary Cournoyer. The road runner is in the house.
And the winner of the Frenchy Quiz.
Welcome in the house, Gary. Mr. Gary. Let me try again. Sorry about that. Leon Renault knocked the door. He said he was watching the game in 1909, Leon Renault. So congratulations. A little bit earlier before Scotty Bowman, Leon. But glad you see Jean Béliveau and Maurice Richard did not have a chance to watch Maurice Richard. Barely see Béliveau, but not remember more as a hockey card on the black and white TV. I cannot remember with the antenna, by the way. The Rabbit TV. We call them the Rabbit TV in my time. Jake McEnway, ladies and gentlemen, is in the house tonight.
What's up, Jake?
RJ Calabro give us already some update about the Arizona Coyotes. Thank you so much, Mr. RJ Calabro. He's prepared for the football. The high school Sunday night, Friday night is going to be ready. Look like it's a big game for him. So we'll see happening. Our friend Sebastien is in the house. Welcome in the house. Thanks to be a part of the show tonight, Sebastien. And hopefully you're doing well. Our friends reclaim, ladies and gentlemen, from Bangkok. Sawadee Crab, Mr. Roy is in the house this morning. Welcome, Mr. Roy. Thanks to be with Hockey Nation show. Moderna number 1 is in the house tonight. Luciano Graziano, directly from Ontario. And just a little bit, I said last time he was north, locally he was south. I don't know if I'm right now anymore. My map quest, who remember MapQuest, by the way? Remember MapQuest? Now it's Google, but MapQuest. I was doing that on my research over there. That's another subject for another time. Well, sir, ex-neighbor Marko is in the house directly from Ottawa. Mr. Claude Richard est de retour avec nous ce soir. And another from Ontario. Again, still prepared and ready for the snow. Mr. William McClary is in the house tonight. William, thanks so much. The Triple W is ready to be with us tonight.
Wish.
And we have for Newfoundland, number 1 for the Buffalo Sabres, RDP is in the house tonight. Welcome back. Thanks for being with us. What about our friend Randy Walkman, directly from Alberta, will be with us next week. Randy, thanks to be with our Canadian show. Stop by. And then our friend Ghislain Laframboise. I will take a guess from Quebec. That's it. That's all. I don't know exactly where he's coming from, but we said Quebec. That would be the best one to say that. And our friend Russell Smith knocked the door, of course. Russell, another great talking about the Color Avalanche. We are not live talking about Willie and Steve G. He is back in the house directly from Arvada, directly south north of Denver, downtown city. I'm talking about Willie Snyder is in the house tonight.
Willie.
Directly from Sweden, Finland, he crossed the border, jump over the borders, go under the borders. Oh, we don't know. The only we know is back in the house. Mr. Nicholas, welcome back. Thanks to be with us at the great Wednesday night on December 20. And we have the Crusader 221. Welcome in the house. It's directly from Maple Creek, Saskatchewan. Last time I was there was a Saskatoon. It's cold over there. It's cold over there, but I don't know exactly what's Maple Creek. Everything's covered with maple. It's not always great, but we'll see what's happening about that. They're going to give us welcome in the house. I believe this is the first time. If you are, welcome in the family. If not, welcome back in the house. We appreciate a lot to be with us on the great. And talking about welcome back, John Grega, the number one friend of the Boston Bruins. John been with us for over 3 years now. And always a pleasure to have John Grega with the Hockey Nation Live Show.
Big news in Boston today.
Yeah. Justin Framboise, he was born in 1972. Jean Béliveau retired in 71. And Maurice Richard in 1960. I saw the last cup of the Guy Lafleur in 1979. But the guy I remember was, well, Stéphane Richer.
Love Stéphane Richer.
Number 44.
44.
Number 44. Zev Leclerc back in the house tonight. I talk about the rig, Mr. Enortap, about Frenchy Quiz. Laval Rocket. Here we go. It's coming from Laval, Quebec. Justin Framboise. I'm going to remember that one. I'm just curious, Justin, to tell us if you're going to see the Rocket upcoming season, or you're going to take the subway to see the Montreal at the Bell Center. I don't know. You can take the subway to go there, or you cross the bridge. And then you get right there in the game to watch Montreal. Zev Lecave, Saint Rose, Fabreville, Saint Rose, Saint Martin, hanging more on the east of the Laval. I'm not going to talk about something special, but André Rousseau Sport is at Laval. That's one thing I always said about this one. I could say something else, but I stay on the sport. That's the most important things to talk about tonight. About this one there. We have everybody. Now, everybody's pop up. Guys, don't forget to click on the like. That'd be awesome. We appreciate a lot. A lot of content to talk about. The main camp start today. The fitness physical is over. And we have a lot of news to talk about. And of course, both of them are going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens and a little bit what happening for the last couple of days. So tonight, for the subject we got for you guys, let's start. Here we go. We have 20 days. 20 days before the season starts, we celebrate today Jurab Slavkovsky. We'll see about him the next couple of days for sure. But tonight is Habs Main Camp debut for the. We want to talk about this. If you follow me on my Habs Daily News, today I talk about the Main Camp with 72 players, but I talk about a little bit more 4 biggest question for the upcoming season, where area where the Montreal Canadiens have to be a little bit more successful to be a good year for the upcoming season. So you can watch this video. And then we heard last night Paul Byron said goodbye. And I make another short video about 4 minutes about Paul Byron. You can watch him then. We're going to talk about him the next couple of minutes. We're going to ask each one of you what you remember the most about Paul Byron. But that's what we got tonight. Are you excited, ladies and gentlemen?
Let's do it.
Very excited, man. Like so much news. It's like drinking water from a fire hose, right? Like not just Montreal, but all the training camps are opening. Just so much hockey news. Trying to work today, but it's hard, like jumping on Twitter every couple minutes. Hopefully nobody from my work is watching because
we block them. We block them. We don't tell them to do not pop up here. So we block him for sure about that. Nicolas de Gauby-Bonneau is in the house directly for the beautiful country of the province de Québec, dans la région de Sherbrooke, Mr. Nicolas de Gauby-Bonneau. Now we're going to go, we start this last week. We're going to hanging this for the rest of the year. It's called the headlines for each one of us. It's a specific subject about Montreal Canadiens. We're going to talk about this for 1 minute. And then after we go through the 3 people, maybe we can talk about this. You guys in the chat, you can exchange about the subject we bring on the table. And first of all, starting with Mr. Marko, is headlines of the day is not done yet, Mr. Marko. So tell us a bit more what you want to.
Yeah, so with this one, Coach, after the trade yesterday, like usual, you have a lot of people reacting to the trade, and still processing, kind of what this means. But the what I'm getting at here is, adding another veteran forward to the lineup. I'm getting a little bit of deja vu from last year. Last year, one of the big things I kept talking about was, the tricky dance that Ken Hughes had to do between balancing, showcasing veterans that are expiring deals. We're talking about Dadonov, Monahan, Drouin, players like that, sucking up valuable ice time from potential players that are going to be, fighting to get into the lineup, right? So it's a very difficult balance to, give somebody like Tanner Pearson some ice time, versus giving, RHP or Slavkovsky some valuable ice time, or maybe even one of these young prospects, maybe giving them the chance to break into the lineup. So is he done yet? Like, I just have a difficult time believing that we're going to go into the season like this. But now that we know that Dvorak is not going to start the season, it looks like they're going to have enough cap space to make it work. So is he done yet? I don't know. We'll see.
Great comment about this. Let's move on, Mr. Enortap, for his headlines of the day about the Montreal Canadiens. And I want to hear a little bit more about this. The checkers or the chest?
Or chess, yeah. Well, I mean, again, this is coming off of the last trade, Coach. We were talking about this yesterday, and we saw there was a lot of emotion, especially by Coach yesterday in the chat. And it started, I guess, with, like, I was playing a little bit devil's advocate with Coach as well about the trade itself. Not that I thought it was a bad trade, by no stretch, but it's sometimes we're looking at it and we're looking at it from a simplistic point of view. And when I say it, I'm referring to the rebuilding process here. And we look at it from a simplistic point of view and think, oh, it's a checkers game here. One move just leads to the next. Whereas I think the whole rebuilding process is very intriguing. It's difficult to do properly. If it was an exact science, I think, we'd have dynasties in the NHL, because some GMs would know exactly what they're doing on a year-to-year basis. It involves obviously drafting. It involves being part of the UFA free agency when it comes up. It involves developmental processes when you have your prospects in place. And more importantly, it involves two other things. One is an element of luck. And I don't think that we can ever dispel that, because you could be doing all the right things and thinking you're playing a chess game, making all the right moves, but at the end of the day, there's certain things that you cannot account for. And, I think even Martin St. Louis today in his press conference kind of alluded to it with, by the way, he seemed very run down a little bit today. He wasn't his usual preppy self, but he still was very, very witty and very deep with some of his reflections. He said at one point, it's not what you're capable of doing, it's what you're willing to do to get to a certain stage. And to me, that really resonated, because if you don't have that camaraderie amongst your teammates, and if they're not willing to fight for each other, and he alluded to that as well, then you could do all the proper internal building that you want. You're never going to get to the promised land, and it's not a process that is done overnight. Yesterday when I mentioned, well, it's time now that we should package some of our prospects and picks and start looking at bringing in some elite players. I say that not from the perspective, oh, it needs to be done this year. I said it more in reference to, it takes 2 or 3 years, but on top of where we are now, I think they still have to benefit from one more bad year. I think, where they're going to pick up yet another top 5, or at least go into the lottery, but they, at worst case scenario, pick up another top 5 pick. and then after, you have to develop them. And right now, when you look at the team and the way it's structured, many things have gone well. I don't argue that. Result wise, it's not there, but really, I don't care about the results right now. I care more about how they're developing. And last year we saw, things that Kent Hughes has done well in terms of bringing in reclamation projects like Dock, and this year New Hook, and it, yes, they improved. I thought that Caulfield improved. I thought Suzuki improved in this game. I thought Gooley improved. Jack-Eye was a nice surprise. Question is, will we see, even if they finish low in the standings, will we see that incremental increase in their development again this year? Even if they lose, that's okay, as long as that improvement is there. Because right now, I believe we're very stacked in terms of the bottom six. And defensively, I would even say the bottom two pairings. There's a lot of players that can play those. Do we have a true number one pairing on defense? Maybe, maybe not.
Gooley. I think Gooley's
in the future. I think some players are being pushed a little bit, Marko, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that they need to be pushed to see if they can handle it. I'm not sure right now if Gooley's a number one pairing, but he might very well improve to the extent that he will be, right? I don't think even Matheson is necessarily a number one pairing, if you really want to look at it. If you look at our top three, I mean, very good players, no doubt about it. We drafted well when we got Caulfield. We got Suzuki through trade, the Pacioretty. I've always maintained I love Suzuki. Is he a true number one center? I don't believe he is. I think he is probably one of the best number two centers in this league, but we're still searching long and hard for that number one. And that's where the problem, comes into play. Like, you look at the moves that Hughes has made, Coach and Marko. We gave up. I jotted it down here. We've given up Petrie and Paling, Hoffman, Pitling, and we got Matheson, now Pearson, Lidstrom, Ligari, and then 4 draft picks that are either second or third. Well, one of them is a fourth as well. Picks as well. So, I mean, I think he's making all the right moves. In the end, that doesn't guarantee you're going to win that chess game, but it definitely puts him in a position, and the team in a position of succeeding. And the rest, you're going to have to chalk it up to getting your number one elite, and we'll define that yet again, what an elite player is, because I don't think we have that elite player just yet. And some teams in the past have benefited from that, right? Like, look at Pittsburgh when they got Crosby and Malkin. Edmonton, they got Draisaitl and McDavid. And you can go on and on with Detroit and Chicago now with Bedard. They got that elite player to work with. And that's a little bit easier to get to the promised land, because it's a little bit easier to fill in below you than to work your way up and to get to that position of getting that elite player. Having said that, it's not impossible. I think that they're very intelligent, and they're very, they being the management, obviously, that they will get those pieces. If not through the draft, they'll get it through free agency, I believe. And that's where I sort of see it. I've thought about this at nauseum the last 2 or 3 days, and like, I love some of the things that are happening, but again, I'm not convinced that they're near a position of any kind of threat right now. There's some good pieces, but we have to go further.
Wow.
Yeah.
We put him Marko, we put him at the penalty box for 2 minutes for a daily game.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Marko?
Yeah, I went beyond my 1 minute, but I had to get that off my chest.
I think Enortap is not playing chess or checkers. He's playing Risk. Like the longest board game known to man. But.
We can skip my headlines now. We can move on. Here we go for my headlines of the night, guys. The debut of the camp, but the end at the same time. It's simple, guys. You have no spot, no place. You have nothing to do. It's simple. Martin said we already have his roster make it. He knows exactly what's coming now. And unfortunately, with all the benefit for all the player, rookie want to make a statement to maybe try to make the roster. I don't see any spot right now. At least it's funny because at least what Marco said, if he make move, but that open spot, and if we can use play the checker and chess, we'll see what kind of he's going to be. That open now, but at this moment, my headline is really the debut of the camp is already the end of the camp. If you're looking for a specific spot for any point, now he's going to have some kind of battle. Example, who's going to be a goaltender number one? I believe Martin is already know this, and I believe the right defenseman. This is what I'm looking for. Lindstrom is going to be a part of the roster or not, and a forward who's going to be the 13th or the 14th forward for the Montreal Canadiens. At the end of the day, remember, guys, they have a 23 player roster. Is a 14-7-2 with a 13-8-2. Would be interesting about to see the big Lachise. It looked like Martin Saint-Louis played at the musical chair yesterday on the press conference. We're not going to go deep. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But it was really everybody on the social media and the TV show today on the French side was all talking about Lachise and Martin Saint-Louis. What kind of the role you play inside the Montreal Canadiens. So it was very interesting. And one thing I really pay attention. He mentioned a lot of time big decision. We need to take big decision, and it's not relate to any player, but they know at some point they have to take big decision. It could be cut someone or send someone Laval, whatever who they are. So really interesting, great. It's just fun to hear Martin Saint-Louis at the press conference after every time he does, because he's always brings some kind of yesterday was about Lachise. After that, it was about the BB. And then the BB become a bit start to walking. And he all those kinds. Last year was the baseball, relate to the baseball. And I can go the way like that. So fun to watch Martin Saint-Louis. Fun to see the media about what happening yesterday. So we're going to talk about everything happening for the Montreal Canadiens for sure. It was the debut of the camp. 72 players was there at this camp. A lot of people in the chat. Thanks so much, everybody. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be awesome. Great headlines, guys, in our tap. And, of course, Marco, like we're going to bring this every single time we do a show with us together. So this will be over. At News Main Camp, 72 players, and they're going to play 6-game exhibition. Game start Sunday and Monday, 7 o'clock, and then New Jersey Devils. Sunday they play the inter-équipe or scrimmage between the red and the white. I believe the game is at 1 o'clock. It's going to be live on the social media, and I'm going to do the game. It's only 12 o'clock midnight, so it's the time I come back for the bar. So we'll be ready for that game. My question for both of you is to ask you about, is it too many players? How do you feel about 72 players? And after that, we know Montreal reduced from 8 games to 6 games. So, or maybe talk a little bit more about the camp overall, what your expectations. So let's start with Marco about that one. In our time, is still try to catch up his breathe.
Yeah, so definitely, I think part of the analysis they did last year with maybe a little bit of too much stress on the players, lots of injuries early in the camp, is they needed to simplify the camp, make it a little bit not easier for the players, but maybe reduce the workload a little bit. So you're right, Coach, 2 less games, and even more importantly, less traveling. Right, like I think a lot of the games are in Montreal. They're not doing Kraft Hockeyville this year, where they travel to usually the Maritimes or a smaller town to go play a game. It's a really cool initiative. Like it's pretty awesome for those fans to be able to see a game live. But I think selfishly, what this is going to mean for Martin Saint-Louis is more practice time, right? Like more games equals less practice time. And as we know, during the regular season, it's impossible to, with the rules, the union protections that players have and all that, it's so impossible to practice during the regular season when the schedule gets going, right? So more opportunity to practice things. We talked about it this summer that last year they didn't really practice or put any emphasis at all on special teams. So that's going to be an important part this year for sure. So less games. Is 72 players way too much? Fuck yeah, that's way too many players. But it is what it is, right? Like I think they're going to need to do that to start off. But I suspect that this time around it's going to be probably a little bit quicker to cut down the team. Just because in the past when you have 8 games, like you need all those players because you're going to be spreading out the lineup pretty thin. So I suspect they'll be a little bit quicker to cut players this year. We'll see if they do that really early on. But I think it should be fun to watch. The main thing I'll be looking at in camp as a clue is, for me, if even because you can say what you want about Tanner Pearson, but he's injured, right? Like they said that he's about 80% right now. He's skating, but so he's probably not going to be ready to start the season anyway. And we know that Dvorak isn't going to start the season. So to me, the real clue to look for, if you're either Heineman or Ylonen or whoever that you're hoping to crack the lineup, you're going to need to play, like, realistically, you're going to need to kill penalties. I think that's probably the role that you would need to have in order to make this team, because you're probably going to play on the fourth line, and that usually means that you're going to be a specialty team player. It's not impossible that maybe on a second unit power play. So what I'll be looking for is Martin St. Louis trying someone like Heineman or Ylonen or maybe even Joshua Roy killing penalties? And if those players do well killing penalties, maybe that is the true clue as to who's going to maybe crack the opening night lineup, just because I think whoever it is that's going to play that utility role on the roster is probably going to be doing specialty teams like that. So that's what I'll be looking out for.
Great comment about that one over there. I like question you guys opened the door for about elite players. I like people asking what is elite, how do you can qualify elite players in there? And very interesting, the people talk about this in the chat. Talking about the chat, we have Mr. Crux knock the door. Rick Bengal is in the house, followed by GSM is in the house. So welcome all of you about this. We have a few questions, and I thought we can answer that one because you opened about the door about elite. So maybe you can have that question. One's coming from Gary. I cannot get up about that one. Let's go. What is your definition of the top pairing defenseman? Enortap.
Well, it's not yet what we have. I think it's a combination of a very good puck moving defenseman combined with a very solid, big, bruising, stay at home kind of defenseman. I think that if you can get those two guys together, that forms a number one pairing for me. Again, Hudson may or may not develop to that. I don't really know. Like right now, he's got his size that's working against him. So I'm a little bit trepid about it. He'll be an excellent player, no doubt about it. Just don't know if he'll be a number one. If you look at, some of the teams like, what Buffalo's doing right now. You have Darling, you have Power, you have Ottawa with Sanderson, and, they picked up, they have Shabbat there, they have Chikrin. I mean, that now is more in line to where what a number one pairing should look like. So yeah, that's what it is. Now, defining it's going to be different from person to person, right? Like elite, you probably can go through the list of all NHL players and say, pretty much most teams have, one or two of them on their teams, right? Then there's generational, and that's when the names like McDavid and Draisaitl come into play, and Crosby and Lemieux and Gretzky when they played. I mean, those are generational players that move the needle 2 or 3 years ahead of the time that they're supposed to have been developed and be in true contention. So that's what it is in my eyes, and that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, I was just said to add to that part there. So an elite player for me is a complete player. So he can play both sides of the game, but he's a guy can carry on the puck transition, a really good on power play. So a quarterback. So we talk about the exception as elite, like Roman Uzi example. That's the one kind. Victor Hetman is another one, and I can go all the way like that. John Carlson, if you go that one. Kel McCarr is another one. Adam Fox. Those are elite.
Quinn.
If you look about the lineup with Montreal Canadiens, we don't have yet. We add the word yet because we don't know how Cooley and Raybacker, Mayu, Hudson, and any others going to develop as the one you're going to reach for the ceiling. So Montreal, I don't have those kind of defense. I'm sorry.
Wouldn't you say? But wait. Would you not say that Jacob Slavin is an elite defender, a number one pairing defenseman? Jacob Slavin.
Yeah, he's
so
that.
I don't think
he's that type of player, Marko. And no, it's I think the player Gouli, I was talking about.
I think Gouli models
a number one pairing where you have one of them that is very offensive minded, but yet you have a partner who works well with them and sort of is more defensive oriented, but can also contribute offensively. So I would put Slavin in that category. He's still a number one pairing. He's not your number one defenseman, but he might be your number two on that team.
Well, if you consider him like the top best three defensemen, one-to-one battle in the NHL, and elite number is right there. That's the reason I consider him and the elite players on that category for that one over there.
Yeah, look at Vegas.
I classify Gouli that way, right? Like, again, like I feel that people are always really focused on points totals, right? So I don't view it necessarily that way. Like I think you're onto something, Enortap. Like it's a blend, right? So you want players that are complementary to each other, but ultimately I think Gouli, to me, the definition of an elite top pairing defenseman is somebody who can control the game in their own way and eat a whole bunch of minutes, right? So to me, I definitely I have is durability. Over the 3 seasons, he hasn't really played a complete season going back into his time in the Western Hockey League, right? So the real question for me for Gouli is just durability, but there's no question that he is projected to be a really strong two-way defenseman, play on your top pair, play 25 minutes a night, maybe score like 40 points, 45 points, maybe a second pairing or second power play unit if you're in a pinch. But, it all depends, right? Like if Mayu projects to be more of an offensive player, then maybe that's kind of like a good pairing in the future. You have, say, Hudson with Reinbacher, who's more of a stay-at-home guy. That would be a really solid top 4, right? So you've got Gouli with Mayu if he projects to be able to play in a top 4. Then you've got Hudson with Reinbacher. I think, to me, that's how I would project the top 4. And if they project the way that we think they're going to project, then I suspect that we would be in pretty good shape for several years there. But to me, an elite player it's not just points, right? Like there's a lot of different definitions, right? So elite talent, though, is somebody who can, on their own, break open a game, not necessarily just with scoring, but Matthew Tkachuk is an elite player because not only can he be offensively impactful in a game, but he can do that physically as well, right? He can do that with his physical play and other ways, right? So an elite player is just somebody who has the ability to have a larger impact on a game than an average player. That's how I would define it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great comments about everything. Yeah, a lot of people talking each other. That's great to hear that. Don't forget, guys, to click on the live. We appreciate it. We are live every Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, talking about the Montreal Canadiens called the Habs Nation Locker Room Report with Enortap and Marko. So let's move on for a couple of things. First of all, it was the day of the media yesterday. Can you talk about fun things? And then Martin and we talk about this. So I don't know if both of you are watching that media, but maybe one of you pick up one of them, and then the other one thing can talk about the other person Martin St-Louis can use. So I don't know. Let's who is ready to willing to start the media press conference happening yesterday. Can use or Martin St-Louis, so Enortap or Marko.
You mean today, right? You mean today, right? You keep
Today.
saying yesterday, but
Yeah.
it was yeah,
Today.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, you go first. I'll let you choose on our top. Who's your favorite?
I mean, I liked both, and I mean, I have to admit it was a little bit difficult for me because the majority of the questions were in French, and my French is very limited, so I had to really struggle and catch the meaning, and sometimes you miss those intricacies. But again, I found Martin St. Louis. He was very reflective. Not only when he was talking about the players and the next steps that have to be taken, he talked, and Coach alluded to this earlier. He talked about the fine line between the kind of decisions that difficult decisions that they're gonna have to make very, very soon, and that is what I think he was alluding to was, do you prop up some of the players in order to try to get a victory, or do you try to look at your development of your potential number one picks or players that come on board and see what they can do when you give them that opportunity, right? Like when he was asked about Doc and even now Newhook, I mean, he alluded to the fact, I didn't see any video of them. I tried to let them play their game, and I tried to sort of talk with them a lot, yes, but I wanted to see what they would bring to the table, and they respond well. Newhook, we don't know yet, but in Doc's case, he responded very positively. I think when you give a player, that opportunity to demonstrate what they have, I think they come up, above and beyond. And if they don't, that tells you a story as well, right? And then that's where you have to make those difficult decisions. Now, the person I'm thinking, and again, this is just me from what I was hearing, where the hard decision is going to have to be made is with Slafkovsky this year, right? You can't put him in a position where he's going to constantly play third or fourth line. You have to put him in positions where, hey, get out there and show me. You're going to get the time. You're going to get the power play. You're going to get opportunities there. You're going to get to play with, I would say, working with Monahan would be fantastic for him because I think he can learn so much from him. And I think that's one of the players that he was alluding to.
Great point about that,
100%. Yeah. He covered St. Louis. That was what stuck out the most to me about St. Louis was comparing kind of what he did with Kirby Dach last year and how he is planning to approach Newhook this year. So, he didn't overcoach, I think is the word that he used. He didn't overcoach Dach last year, let him, kind of do his thing for a while, analyze his play, didn't overcoach him, get into his head. And then over the course of the year, then he started to kind of build on it, get an understanding of where his game was and everything else. So I think he's going to take that same approach with Alex Newhook, which for me is a huge clue that I would suspect that they're probably going to try Newhook up top with Suzuki and Caulfield to start. If I had to guess, that's probably, now maybe that changes because of the center depth issue. Maybe they're forced to do something different because of Dvorak not being there. But we'll have to see, right? There's so many moving pieces. To me, I think, the overarching thing that maybe we're not really believing them. Because this is always a buzzword, we have a lot of flexibility. This player can play wing or center. And usually it's kind of something that they say. But I think we're going to see that a lot this year. I think we are going to see a lot of moving pieces. I won't be surprised if we see Newhook play center and wing. I'm not going to be surprised if we see Dach play center and wing. I'm not going to be surprised if we see Monahan play center and wing. So I think they truly believe that they have more flexibility with their roster with these pieces. And St. Louis said it a bunch of times about the depth that they have. So on the Kent Hughes front, it was kind of weird, the press conference. Like, it kind of started off abruptly. I didn't really catch the beginning of it, but he was talking about Paul Byron, talking about how he was very appreciative that they were able to keep him in the organization, and that he took the opportunity to watch a lot of games with them at the end of the season last year and everything else. He then got some questions about what does that mean for young players, his acquisition of Tanner Pearson. And I think he, committed again, like, listen, if a player forces our hand and forces their on their team, I think we've made it. We've shown that we're willing to make room for a player if they force our hand. But I think what was interesting is I think it said a lot about kind of their frame of mind. Maybe they looked at the rookie camp. I doubt it. I don't think this is true, but maybe they looked at the rookie camp. They're like, guys, I don't think we have anybody that's that close. And we're going to need somebody to come in and potentially take these minutes, right? Like, if we have injuries again, even close to last year, we would rather give minutes to Tanner Pearson than bring up Machar or Roy or something if we don't feel that they're ready to come up and play the NHL yet. So the best example of that is Caden Primo, right? I really think they really mismanaged Caden Primo over the last 2 years. I would have much liked it if Caden Primo could have just stayed in Laval and played the majority of games. But even last year, they didn't even have 3 goalies signed to a professional contract that could come up and play for Montreal. If there was an injury to the backup, Caden Primo had to leave Laval and play backup and just sit on the bench, right? So I think that's what they want to avoid, is they want the players to play in Laval, build something special. It's going to be a tough start in Laval, but they want them to just get the experience in Laval and not have to call them up and play them in lesser roles. So that looks to be the strategy, like, based on what Kent Hughes said. So I thought that was interesting, and it gives kind of a bit of a insight into kind of what the management team is thinking as to how close some of these young players are, and the fact that they want to protect them from having to come up to the big club if they're not ready. If they are ready, if they think they're ready, then they'll make the room, but they don't want to push and speed people up too quickly.
Yeah, Marco, you're absolutely right. Like, I think that in the past, that's been one of our lingering liabilities, is that we don't have the patience, or we have not had the patience to properly develop these players. And all you have to look is at some of the defensemen that over the years we either gave up on too quickly or have traded, thinking that they wouldn't go beyond a certain point. And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal, the amount of defensemen alone that we have given up hope on and moved on from. But you're right. It's going to take patience. If you look at the rookies that we saw this year, yeah, there were some good flashes from about 3 or 4 of them. But are they NHL ready right now? No, they're not.
We want to welcome Roger Delaney is in the house. Welcome back, Roger.
Welcome, Roger.
Julius Caesar. Julius has been here for many years ago, pop up at some point, and we want to welcome him. And I missed someone, pop up. I think we said Mark, he was here, but I maybe missed someone, so I apologize. Frankie is in the house. Welcome, everybody. Have a lot of big conversation, guys, and the chat between Monahan and Kirby Doc. So someone talk about Kirby Doc,
He's my favorite player.
And money,
he's my favorite player.
That. And I just want to share with one thing, guys, is you cannot consider any player in NHL, call them like a bust at 22 years old. It's not compare. Wait until Kirby Doc reach 25 years old, and then after that you can compare what it will look like in the future for that part there. Unfortunately, he got a wrist injury. I don't give excuse, but for a point, he lost almost 1 year. So he really played on the 21 years old in NHL. He was one of the rare players start in the play at 18 years old in NHL. So We'll see. Monahan have a great career, but unfortunately for him, for the last 4 years, with injuries, he did not performing exactly what he started in NHL. First year, he has like 34 points, 63, 60, 62, 63, everything like that. So it'll be interesting what he look like. But I just want to clarify one thing. It's you cannot consider it's like Lafreniere is the boss. When I hear this, like, come on, he's played 3 years in NHL. When he's going to be 27 years old, 28, now you can consider him like a boss or not. It depends how you see that. A lot of people in the chat, a lot of comments there. I just want to clarify that one. I'm going to move on. We have a lot of continents to talk about. And my next subject is about, I want to hear from you. You have a trade between the Vancouver Canucks and the Montreal Canadiens. We talked about this yesterday when I was alone. But I would like to hear from you a little bit more, Marko. Tanner Pearson with a third round pick 2025 against Casey DeSmith. Enortap talked about earlier. If you go to, we like to do a trade threes. When you go all the way for Jeff Petrie 2 years ago, and now you look about what Montreal got in return for everything from Avery and Gold. I just want to hear from you what do you think about Tanner Pearson for the Montreal Canadiens and that trade, honestly, from the general manager can use.
Yeah. So listen, like Tanner Pearson is a solid, honest NHL player. And, I think he's a good addition to a team, in their bottom six if they plan on, being a contending team or being maybe a Stanley Cup contending team, like maybe a fourth line player on a Stanley Cup contending team. So listen, like Tanner Pearson is a winner. Like he's won a cup. He's part of that 70s line with LA, with Toffoli and with Jeff Carter back in the day. And he's been a valuable player as a role player. So I have no issue with the player. I think it's a fair deal. It works for both teams. Like Vancouver really need to clear that cap space. They really, speaking of mismanagement of the situation, like even even Hughes came out and said how upset he was at Vancouver management for botching his probably manage his wrist surgery that year. So
familiar.
Ultimately, yeah. So sorry, I was just hearing is that paper or something going? I don't know, but so I think good opportunity for Tanner Pearson. He was pretty upset at Vancouver management last year for how that was dealt with. So, and for Vancouver, they just really needed that backup goalie, right? So it works both ways. Like I said off the top in my headline, the only thing in terms of how this is a fit for the Habs, I'm just getting a little bit of deja vu, right? Like, is Tanner Pearson this year's Evgeny Dadonov, right? For me, like, yes, if he does well, then he's on the final year of his deal. Maybe they'll be able to flip him for something else. But at what cost, right? Like, are they going to really play him in the top 9 and, limit the opportunities that someone like Slavkovsky or RHP or Heineman potentially could get? I don't know. Like I said, it's a very delicate dance for St. Louis, right? Like how do you manage that, right? Like you want a veteran player, and Martin St. Louis was asked that earlier in the press conference today, right? Do veterans have a longer, rope in terms of their performances because of their background? And he was pretty honest. He said, you know what, like that's a tough decision to make, right? It really depends on their body of work, whether I'm more patient with a veteran who's not performing versus a rookie. So listen, like it's never a bad thing, like St. Louis said, to bring in veteran players that can support younger players. But we already have Monahan and we already have some of those veteran players. So I get it. Like they really needed to clear out this goaltending situation before camp started, because you can't have 4 goalies on one-way contracts going into the camp here, right? So he did what he did. I'm curious to see how it plays out, but Tanner Pearson is a good, honest NHL player. If he does play for Montreal at some point, then he'll be effective as long as they use him in the right role. I'm hoping that nobody expects that he's going to play in our top 6. And God, if he's playing in our top 6, then Coach, we should have a whole show on how badly things are going if Tanner Pearson is playing in Montreal's top six.
Well said about the trade for Montreal. Enortap, you want to add something else about that or not?
Yeah, I was going to just say, I mean, and this is what gave me, pause to think here yesterday when I heard the trade. I think Hughes would have been extremely happy if he had traded just the Smith for the draft pick. I think he's happy with that. But the only way this deal gets done to support Vancouver and their needs is if they take back this kind of a contract. So I personally, I don't think that he's going to have much of a lifespan in Pearson, is going to have much of a lifespan in Montreal. He either will, because of the severity of the injury, because I believe, if I heard correctly, he's had 6 operations on that wrist. Yeah, and even though he's 80%,
really butchered
it's a hard injury to come back from. So, I mean, I think Hughes thought it from a couple of perspectives, and again, we go back to that chess move, right? Either he puts him on the LTIR, and we saw today that Dvorak is not ready, and that works perfectly, because if you can put both of them on the LTIR, and then when the season starts, you put Carey Price on the LTIR, then that gives you so much flexibility during the course of the year to do a number of different things that may arise. I can even see a scenario where, Armia is just dropped. I really like. I just don't. I really don't want Pearson to take position of a young player, and that's my only concern and my trepidation with that deal a little bit. I would have been happy, just give me the pick and away we go.
Great comments about that. Both of you, about the trade for the Montreal Canadiens. Let's move on for what we got tonight on the subject. We almost hit the 1 hour. The AB news, the Paul Byron. Let's Paul Byron. Let's Paul announced he's going to be retired as a hockey professional. Got a new job with the Montreal Canadiens. So, Enortap, let's talking about a little bit about Paul Byron. And tell us a bit what you remember the most Paul Byron. Maybe one word about it's Paul.
Yeah, one word. I can't stop at one word. You know that, Coach. The thing that comes to mind the most is that the goal he scored against the Maple Leafs in the playoffs, just off of his knees, and here we have it. Well, no, that's not the one, but it was a shorthanded goal as well, and it sort of elongated the series, and eventually Montreal wins on that. And to me, I congratulate him on I think, a very successful career. Here's a guy that always had to not only reinvent himself, but had to always prove to others that he's capable of putting it into a different gear. And I think he's shown it in many different aspects. Keeping him on as part of as an advisor to the player development for Montreal, I think, is an excellent idea, because I think he has a good gauge of what makes a player a good player, and it's very much like coaching. I think that sometimes when you put an all-star or an elite, here we go with the word again, an elite player that's finished their career as a coach, it's a little bit more difficult for them to understand, the different levels that players are coming from. And that's why you don't see too many excellent players make excellent coaches as well. And the biggest example that comes to mind is Wayne Gretzky. I mean, some of the best coaches that we see in the league are ones that have had to struggle when they were players and have had to contribute in many different facets in order to either reinvent their game or add to something, go that extra mile that, Martin St. Louis was talking about today. And they were able to do it successfully. And when Paul Byron came to Montreal, I thought, this guy, he's a complete package. He gives his all and leaves everything on the ice.
Well said about Paul Byron. Mr. Marco, tell us a bit more about Paul Byron.
Yeah, well, guys, are you able to think of a bet? Well, other than Martin Saint Louis himself, who was also a waiver pickup, probably one of the best waiver pickups, certainly by Montreal, in the last 10, 15 years, right? Like, amazing waiver pickup. And to me, to tie it into kind of what Martin Saint Louis was talking about with chairs and how that works in a hockey team, to me, he's the perfect example of that, right? So what Martin Saint Louis talked about was, as a young player, you want to basically find a chair, find a spot that that you can land in to establish yourself as a player, which Byron did, right? Like, he was drafted as a high-end offensive player, like playing in Gatineau with Claude Giroux. He was a center, really offensive player, but kind of reinvented himself and used the speed to kill penalties, right? So he found a chair, which was killing penalties, being a utility player. But then, like Martin Saint Louis said, he then looked at the chair above that and which chair was he coveting, and he performed really well in the chair that he was in to give him the opportunity to build towards another chair. And for if you look back, say 3 years ago, again, Montreal was kind of struggling a little bit, but he got the opportunity to play top 6 minutes, right, when through his injuries and things like that, right? So to me, Paul Byron is the perfect example for some of these young players about identifying how can you fit in the team and how can you adjust your game to find a role in the NHL and then perfect that role and then find a way to progress in the team and even get more responsibility. So to me, he's a perfect example. His role, I think, is kind of vague a little bit, but that's good, right? Like, he's probably gonna go and watch some of the young prospects, like go watch them play in the NCAA for a little while. Then he might go watch some games in Laval, work with JF Hood and that coaching staff, and then he might come back and work with some of the young players in Montreal. So really good variety that you can get with him, because you have Bouillon, you have Ramage that have full-time roles doing player development. So I think they're probably going to use him in a variety of different spots. And like I said, like Enortap said, right, he's somebody that will be able to relate to a lot of different players. Again, like Martin Saint Louis, right? And Saint Louis is even cooler because he was an all-star, like an MVP, but also played on the fourth line. So Byron is going to be able to really kind of relate to a lot of the players that Montreal has. So great for him. And most importantly for Paul Byron, guys, I just hope that physically he recoups enough that he can enjoy his life. Similar to Carey Price, right? Like, we know that he has really severe hip problems, and so hopefully, he loves being on the ice. I think it was Martin Saint Louis saying that Paul Byron was in Montreal all summer and he's on the ice all the time. So good for him as a player. It's really hard to let go of that, but hopefully for him, and he just feels good enough so that he can enjoy life, and because that's really what it comes down to. Like, we all love hockey, but walking is pretty good too, right? Without pain. So hope that for him.
Yeah, both of you, great comments. It's sad because, a lot of people said should always have fight. But when he got fight with the Wegard, it's called in hockey, it's called the code, right? So a code in hockey is like if you do something wrong again versus another player, but later, whatever it could be, the next couple of weeks, a month, or the following year, you're going to respond. And unfortunately, Wegard is really, uppercut Byron. And I feel like that moment, Byron never recovered for that one. Wegard was a left puncher, and he did not see that. And then, unfortunately, but it's sad that you see a player like him because honestly he can skate, but he have to move on with his career. So despite Byron, 2 seasons of 20 goals with the Montreal Canadiens, bring some kind of energy and working. Perseverance is the more I'm talking about for Paul Byron. Go through challenge a bit like other players, with his friend, team and organization. He got, on the waiver at some point and claim. Sometimes a bad day could become a great day. That's the reason if you look about Paul Biron, and he will bring a really great example leadership inside the Montreal Canadiens as a new hockey coach development or player development for the Montreal Canadiens. Exactly, you said Marco, like Francis Bouillon and of course Rob Ramage. A lot of people in the chat. Thanks so much, everybody. To click on the like, if you don't mind. If you have any question, we are going to be live for a couple more minutes. And the next thing we want to talk about, guys, I have for you is not this one, about that one. It was Paul Biron for that. And I want to mention Marco and Enortap. From now for the week, for the next couple of days, what is your expectation for the Montreal Canadiens you want to see at the camp under Martin St. Louis for the upcoming season? Do you see some kind of battle for the spot, or do you see that rookie can step out or stood out for the upcoming camp, or you really feel like the team is almost already, the roster is almost complete already before the season start, the camp start, like I mentioned to you earlier? So I would like to hear from you, both of you. Let's start with Marco.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with your headline, Coach. Like, I think there's still going to be battles in camp. Similarly to last year, I think it looks like the biggest battles are going to be on the decor, right? Like, and a lot of players that broke the lineup last year. I'm thinking Harris, Jackeye in particular. It's going to be interesting to see kind of Byron. You can throw Byron in there with Lindstrom. So that's going to be kind of probably the harshest battles. The other battle is going to be, just maybe for one spot, on the forward lineup. Like going into the camp, I thought that was going to be between Ylonen and Heineman. I don't think in the short term that's going to change that much because of the injuries to Dvorak and to Pearson. So we'll have to see if Pearson's going to be ready to play. Then that might change things. But like I said earlier, to the clues that I'll be looking at in terms of who's going to crack the lineup is who's performing the best on these specialty teams. Because I think in particular penalty kill, if you're going to play on the fourth line, you're going to have to assume a role like that. We're all assuming that if Armia is not injured, he's going to be probably the first set of forwards that goes out there to kill a penalty. That's probably the biggest value that he brings to Montreal right now is killing penalties. He's really good at it, especially pressuring in the offensive zone, not allowing teams to set up on their power play. So, but other than that, like, Harvey Pinard can kill penalties. They tried Anderson a little bit last year, but he wasn't really that effective at it. I don't know if he has the hockey IQ to kill penalties. Gallagher doesn't have the foot speed to do that, I don't think. So let's look at, is it Ylonen, Heineman, and which other players is St. Louis going to really try in these penalty killing roles? I think that's, I keep saying it, I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch and might give us a clue as to who has kind of a bit of an edge into making the team. So that should be interesting. We'll see. Another intriguing thing about camp is, Caden Primo, right? Like, what's going to happen with him? Like didn't have a really strong camp last year. He probably, going into camp last year, Coach, would you say that management probably was expecting Caden Primo to maybe be Allen's backup and not Montembeault? Like, that camp really cost Caden Primo an opportunity, right? And that's another interesting thing about these camps is, yes, you have to be patient with players, but things move fast in the NHL, guys. Like we were talking about Jan Mysak, like he had a really nice rookie tournament, but look at that guy, right? Like he's been already at Laval for 1 year. He didn't get a lot of opportunity there last year. He wasn't put in a lot of positions for him to be an impact player. But if he doesn't have a strong camp and leave a really big calling card here, like there's a lot of prospects pushing behind him, right? So same thing with Caden Primo. Like they just drafted 3-4 goalies in the last little while. So the NHL and even the AHL is a place that moves quickly. So if you don't seize your opportunity within your first 1 or 2 camps, things can move quickly, especially with a team like Montreal where they have so many prospects. Like they've just drafted so many players, right? So I'll be looking for some of those players, that have a lot to prove in this camp. and maybe on their last legs in terms of really making a mark as a professional hockey player.
Well said about that. And Mr. Enortap, what do you think about for the upcoming camp?
I don't think there's going to be much room, and to be totally honest with you, in terms of somebody cracking the lineup. The one thing I would say is with the Vorak's injury, and it looks like he's not coming back until sometime mid-November, is the best news that I heard. Does that open up the door for an Owen Beck to come up for a number of games and then be sent down later? It would give him the opportunity to sort of put on display at the right level what he can or cannot do. I wasn't impressed with the rookies.
He better have a much better. He didn't have a
Yeah.
good tournament, right? So he needs to step it
He
up.
didn't
if
look
he
as
wants to
good
take
as
it back.
last year. He didn't look. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that, Marko. He didn't look very good there. He looked a lot better last year at training camp than he did here. But I mean, there's a possibility. One thing I think I'm convinced of is there's no way that they're going to let Yolonen go on the waiver list. I think that they're going to do everything possible to try to make him succeed on that fourth line. And I suspect that he will stick with the team. The other guys, I liked that. It was very encouraging to see guys like Simoneau and Trudeau and even Roth played well. Heineman got a little bit better. It was good, but they're not at that level right now that I think they'll crack the lineup. I think it's more about trying to figure out what players will play best with whom and getting a little bit of chemistry, seeing where the chemistry is between certain players. We mentioned earlier that they seem to have a little bit more depth this year at center position, so they can throw some guys, like Newhook at center or on the wing, Monahan, same thing, Doc if they need to. And just playing with that with the 6 games and seeing what works best. My biggest fear is is goaltending. Last year it kept us in games and gave a different perspective. I just hope that there isn't sort of a regression there on Monty's behalf, because Allen is what he is. He's not a starter anymore, and he's pretty much a backup, a solid backup at that. But if Monty doesn't step it up a little bit, I mean, it could be a long year, right?
A lot of great comments, both of you. A lot of people in the chat talking each other. That's awesome to hear that. Thanks so much. We need a real coach. Ben said that. Welcome to the house, Ben Lavallée. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. Maurice Rubillard is here for sure. A lot of people talk about the Laval Rocket, the new. I want to clarify something. We talk about the salary cap, where the Montreal can try to put Carey Price under the salary cap for the upcoming season. That give him more flexibility. How about that? We know now DUARTE is going to be missing for the next month. At least not start the season with the Montreal Canadiens. We don't know yet the stature or the status of the Pearson. He's going to be with Montreal today, I think. He traveled today, will be there tomorrow, whatever it is. But again, for Carey Price. Now, the last couple of weeks, I'm one of guilty. I'm one to teaching people about this. I did not know this until 2 days ago. We said, oh, you can send, Harris, Cooley, Sakoski, RHP, all the players with waiver claims, right? Waiver exempt. So you can send them then they can call back. But one thing we did not know, I did not know that. If you have seniors is a performance bonus and your contract, like Sakoski, if you have Sakoski right now is at $950,000 on the contract, you send him a Laval. When you call him back, it's a $3.5 million chin on the salary cap. So This is really important, really
What?
important rules
Really?
for the salary cap. Yes.
Whoa.
If you, what's the bonus though?
Oh,
Is it just
there's no
Is a
way.
perform
There's no
is
way.
a for what he got right now is a performance bonus. I don't know exactly what is the performance. I don't know. I don't have the information about me. What is the performance bonus in front? But this is really important because that's showing the salary cap for the following year after that for the Montreal Canadiens. They don't want to
yeah,
accumulate those kind. Cooley is maybe 250,000. They have another one I can recall it. So those situations could maybe make another kind of decision. They have to be careful about that when you talk about Sarkozy example. So I just want to, uh, it's a very important things to learn about that when you think about
yeah.
player go back down then come back up. So I just want to share and clarify that
Well, I
situation
knew
about
that
that.
some of these bonuses. So I knew that there was something around. Sometimes these bonuses count on the cap for next year. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yes,
It sounds
exactly.
like it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just
3.5
yeah.
surprised.
million for
I knew that, but
Sarkozy.
I'm just
yeah,
surprised this
that's why I
Slafkovsky
thought it
has
was
one.
really.
So
Oh yeah, well he's the number one pick overall, right? Like, yeah,
yes, yeah. So
Yeah, but
honestly, if
three
you look
point five.
about his contract, you know what I mean, like he has right now $13.35 million. If he reach his performance bonus, everything. Of course, he did not get last season with that for sure. But I just want to share it with you. I don't know exactly what is the perform. I don't know the details of the performance bonus, but I just want to mention to you about that, so that the GM have to be very careful about those kind of performance bonus. That's the reason you don't get those kind of money. Usually, it's about more the signature bonus, right? You get those kind of guarantee money, maybe at the beginning, maybe at the end, depends what the contract it look like. But this is a very important status about Sarkozy if ever he want to come back on that. With what the Montreal want to send him down in Laval Rocket. For that. Talking about the Laval Rocket, I don't know. I think it's going to be a very interesting team to follow for the upcoming season. What do you expect with it? What do you feel like Mayu or Beck, or what do you feel they're going to do for the upcoming season, or who maybe is going to be a call up if Montreal needs someone? Do you expect a specific players, and do you think Meza will be better for him to develop with Laval Rocket or play in the OHL? So you have this one in front of you for the next couple of minutes before we go to Frenchy Quiz. So that will be the last question of the night. So let's start it with Enortap on that one.
Well, I think initially, Coach, they're going to have a little bit of difficulty. We talked about this before, uh, just simply because there's such a turnover on the team in terms of the players, new players that have come on board, and it's plus players that they've acquired through trades that are going down there, like Leah Sanderson, for example, and a couple of others that we got. They're there for a specific reason, obviously. Maybe even Lidstrom is going to be starting there. We don't know. Um, it, I think as the season goes on, I think they're going to become much more solid as a team. You're going to see them really gel together. I think in terms of talent, there is a lot of talent on the team, and they're going to have to work well together. Uh, but the potential is there for them to have a very good season once they get through the initial, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Climatization of playing together on a new team and whatnot. In terms of call ups, I mean, I think you hit already on a couple of them who they may or may not be. It might be somebody like a Joshua Roy, or more possibly a Heineman that comes up. If there's an injury on the Montreal squad, for them to come in and fill in those shoes.
yeah. So Laval, listen, I think it's going to be fun on the team to watch. We have actual prospects on the team instead of all these kind of like hodgepodge
Bodies.
of different semi-pro players that that we're getting every year from other AHL teams. So it should be fun to watch. But I think GF has been pretty transparent in acknowledging that it might be a bit of a tough start to the year with a lot of these young players. But it should be fun to watch. They're going to try and GF was pretty transparent. His job is to develop players and get them ready to play in Montreal. So they're going to try and mirror similarly to kind of what they're doing in Montreal in terms of style and play and get these players ready. So should be good. In terms of your interesting question about Machar, coach, like depending how he does in camp here, but if you look at the lineup in Laval, I'm not sure if it makes sense for him to play in Laval. Like, do you really want him to play? Like, look at what happened with Mishak last year, right? Like, I swear to God, like I watched, I don't know, like 15 or 20 games in Laval, and every time I was cursing at the TV. I'm like, why are you playing, these other players so much? Like, Mishak is an actual prospect, right? Like, why not give him more opportunity to play in these critical situations than some of the players they were giving that opportunity to last year? So it's a tricky thing, right? Like, yes, you want these players to develop in Laval, but you want it to be in somewhat of a winning environment, right? Like, GF is still going to want to win some games a little bit here. So I don't know. We'll have to, it really depends. Like the management has said, right? Really, it's players that decide where they end up playing. So if Machar kind of, has a little bit of a redemption here in the camp and plays a bit stronger, maybe he finds his way onto Laval. But if I had to bet right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they send Machar down to play in the OHL again this year. But maybe they try to find a way for him to get traded to a bit of a better team, to be honest. Because if you look at the lineup, if you project it, like you have I always forget the name of the Swedish guy that we traded for there. Who's the guy that they got again, coach? I always forget his name. It's not Lidstrom, but the guy they got
Anderson?
from the Rangers. Is it Anderson?
Elias Anderson?
Yes, Anderson.
Yeah, Elias Anderson. Yeah. So, he's probably going to be in the top 6, right? You figure that Roy is going to be in the top 6. You think Mishak, based on the camp he has, he's probably going to play some minutes. They've got Stevenson. So I don't know, like, coach, like, would you rather have Machar play a bottom line role in Laval or go and get lots of minutes and play for a good OHL team?
Usually I would say no, but this time in this session I said yes. I will tell you why. Because the pressure is still there, right? Now he's start to be compared first round pick, 26. Kulish is around now behind him, and he have a lot of pressure. But it's not about the pressure I want to talk about. About the fact he's going to be with a group of young players he feel like he belong with. Like he's going to be with, like other Mayu and all those players. If you go back and watch it, I feel like he's going to be a little bit more disappointed or frustrated and really not happy about that. For me, I would prefer to have Mezar around and have an opportunity to teaching him, develop him a little bit better. Whatsoever he play only on the third line, fourth line, we play only 10, 12 minutes. The fact is a part of this group of the players we got now, the 10, 14 prospect now they have. I feel it would be a little bit more benefit on this case to stay with the Laval Rocket whatsoever. Sometime it would be better for the players to go back in the WHL. I don't like the fact he will be returning with the Kitchener Rangers. It's not an organization where it's well known right now. They have struggled a lot last year whatsoever. They have a new coach over there. I feel like it would be better if ever he play on the WHL returning, he need to be with a top contender to maybe go to Memorial Cup, something like that. And I don't have all those, like Peterborough or any London or whatever they are. But I feel it would be better to be around, like, every day to be with Nicolas or with any other coaches around him. I think it would be better for him for his development.
But he needs to earn it, though, coach. Like, they can't just give it to him, right? Like, based on kind of what he's shown so far.
Well, I'll give you an example. Do you think Sarkowski deserved it last year? I don't think so. I think Owen Beck have a better camp
No,
compared to
no.
Sarkozy, right? So,
Yeah.
But again, like we talked about
unfortunately,
before, Coach, we don't see
go ahead.
all the data though, right? Like we don't see how Slavkovsky was reacting to the feedback that the coaching staff was giving him and everything else, right? So I think St. was seeing some things in his game that he was seeing improvements for Slav before he got injured. But listen, that's a good point. But if you're going to have that kind of culture that they want, then I think they're not just going to give them roles, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that's a good argument about Machar being part of that group in Laval, but he's going to have to really step up and have a good camp here. Like the reason I'm bringing it
Again,
up is
Marco,
it's
I'm sure
not
you'll be
it's
agree
not
with
like
me. He can be sent back home. He can be sent back in OHL after 10, 12, 14 game, whatever the number of game. He have that kind of the flexibility you can do with him. For me, at the beginning of the season, I will try to get him over there and see what he's going to react, everything like that. And they have a lot of players forward over there. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be overload.
yeah.
Some players have to go start maybe with 12 years. They score something like Reddy Kidney, Thijs Milanix. He get a contract over there. Parker Jones be with 12 years. So would be really, really interesting. But for me right now, I would take that way over there. It's not like he does not deserve, he deserve. Like you talk about for the development, that was my answer about
Yeah.
that one over there.
Yeah.
That would be more that the reason I said that. So about Mezar, would be a lot of people
develop-
talking. Go ahead.
To develop, they have to get that ice time, and if you have too many of them, as you were alluding to, it's going to be hard to get the proper development in that they need. So you're better off probably going to London Knights or a team like that.
Yeah, absolutely about
I
that. So
agree.
again, it will be really interesting to see what the result about who is going to make the roster for Laval Rocket. We're going to definitely follow the Laval Rocket for the upcoming season. That would be fun to watch. Everything like that. A couple of people in the chat. King pop up here. Thanks to be with us. Great comments from Carrie Cournoyer about Rob Ramage and Nicholas talked a little bit earlier. Leon Renault continues talking with Steve G, GSM. Mark continues Randy Walkman. Thanks so much. Nicholas, what I said. And many people talk about about fun things. Question from Triple W about can we compare KK and Sarkozy? I don't know what you think about that. I don't know one of you, after you want to pick it up that one over there. I'm going to get out when I hear the cooking and me. I'm getting nervous. I'm shaking. The Atkinson's coming, so I don't want to talk about Atkinson about cooking and me. But what do you think about cooking and me and Sarkozy?
Well, I think Slavkovsky has the higher ceiling, right, between the two players, and that's what you have to bank on, the fact that he was a number one overall versus KK, who was he number 3 or 5? I can't remember now.
Kokanemi, third overall.
Yeah, third. Yeah. So, I mean, I think this year he got a little bit more ice time in Carolina. We did see some improvement when they had some injuries, and he had to play a little bit up on the second line as well. I don't know how much more of a ceiling he has, right? He can refine his game a little bit better. I can definitely see that. But I think what you see is probably what you get in terms of KK. But I think with Slavkovsky, there's more to aspire to here. And I think that they're going to have to be very careful and tread water the right way here in order to make that happen.
About that, Randy said 5 for coach.
Man, that is a
Go ahead. Sorry, enough.
5 what?
I don't know. Randy said 5 coach. I don't know.
Number 5, was he?
No, Kakiniemi he was drafted
Number
3rd
3?
overall. Yeah, he was drafted 3rd.
3rd?
Ahead of
Okay.
Brady Tkachuk. Yeah, ahead of Brady Tkachuk, right?
Yeah.
Just to remind everyone. So this is a terrible question. Wesh. I hate you for asking this question. It's painful, but I think it's important. It's a fair question, but it's painful to have. Listen, it's it's an inevitable comparison. Personally, I still think that Kotkaniemi is going to have a good NHL career. I think he has. I don't agree, Enortap, that we've seen the end of his development. Like I think he'll be a good second line center in the NHL, not like a elite one, but an effective. You know, he can play physical. Getting a little bit stronger on his skates was kind of the big knock on him. So listen, I still have hope that he's going to be a good player. Certainly not as good of a player as Brady Tkachuk, but he's going to be a good player. If you can compare KK and Slafkovsky, I don't think it's fair because it's totally two different management teams, right? So other than the fact that they were both drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, that's really the only thing that's the same. Different GM, different development team, different coaching staff.
Different
so if
position.
You can't just say, "Oh, Montreal," yeah, like you can't just say Montreal is bad at developing players as a blanket statement. You can make an argument that the Bergevin management team was not good at developing players, right? Because that was its own entity, that's its own era of the Montreal Canadiens. But it's too early to say to really judge what the Hughes management team is going to do in terms of developing players. Now, the early signals, it looks as though they put a very good team in place. They've expanded the team of people, and they're more serious about player development in terms of all the really great resources that they've added to the organization. But you can't really compare. It's like apples and oranges, right? Like, first of all, they're different players. They play different positions and totally two different management teams. So, in 5 years from now, Slafkovsky doesn't turn out to be the best player in that draft or one of the best players. People are still going to say, "Oh, look at Montreal. They can't draft and develop players." But it's, okay, maybe that's true, but it's not a really accurate statement because it's not just one thing, right? Like Bergevin management team, totally different from the Hughes management team. So we'll have to see.
Marko,
let's have a little bit. Yeah.
If let's rephrase it. If they were the same age and were in the same draft, and it was your turn to pick, who would you pick?
Which number, one or two? Like if I was picking number one,
it doesn't matter. It's your position. It's your spot, and they're both available.
It's too early, right? We haven't seen enough of Slafkovsky. Because I've seen more of Kotkaniemi, this might sound crazy, but I would probably pick Kotkaniemi if I had to pick right now, because he's a center, okay. And to me, it's more of a valuable asset. But I might feel differently in a year when I see how Slafkovsky pans out.
Coach,
does that surprise you?
I saw everything in the chat about that. I'm not going to talk about Kotkaniemi. I'm getting nervous. I'm getting like I'm prepared for my next Turkey.
No, but Coach, that's a good question. That's a good question, Coach. You have to answer that one. If you had to choose between Slafkovsky and Kotkaniemi, not the draft order or anything, but if you had to pick between one of those players, which would you pick?
I would still go with Slafkovsky, and the reason behind that's nothing against Kotkaniemi, because I really believe, I think is a player is going to be better and better with time. I think Slafkovsky is going to take about at 25, 24, 25, 26. He's going to get the 60, 70 point in the NHL. I think it's just a baby late boomer producing in the NHL. But because the size of Slafkovsky, I feel like Slafkovsky have more. And as a scout, when you watch Slafkovsky play and you watch Kotkaniemi, I'm sure I will go with Slafkovsky because the size, what he can bring, what he can become. I think for me to have a big 6'4", that would be my benefit about that. Again, you have other things you can, the time they get drafted, them, what you have inside your roster, everything like that, the piece of the puzzle. but I think I would go slightly over Sakoski over Kokanemi, and nothing again as Sakoski at the end of the day. Julien Wiseman is in the house. Thanks so much, Jimbo. He became a member of the Hockey Nation. I'm sorry again, Marco.
I was cursing Wesh. Like, that's a tough question, but it was interesting question, but that was a tough one.
Yeah.
Let's never talk about it again.
For sure. That was great. That's conclude, guys. All the questions we got tonight, all the talk. The 13th rookie knocked the door. Welcome in the house. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. We'll be back tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, talking about the Montreal Canadiens and talking about a bit news in NHL, like Brett Marchand. He looked like he got a C for his jersey. And then we have other news around the league. Unfortunately, Mathis Ekholm not going to start the season with the Edmonton Oilers. And you're going to have more players with some kind of injury going to hear for the next couple of weeks. This is the beginning, guys. This is the world right now. It's a fun start for everything. So we are very appreciate. Ronnie Odette knocked the door. Thanks so much, Ronnie, to be with us. We appreciate that. Jordan Bennington on the RC to lose his role with the Blues. I would say no, King. 2 reasons. First of all, his contract is high. Sorry, Kev, I think he has a $6.5 million. It's still many years in front. And then if you look about the roster for the Blues, they don't have anybody as the goaltender, or the fact the rookie offer is going to be very interesting to follow about that. So great comments, guys. I appreciate that. We appreciate both of you are ready to finish the show with some kind of quiz of the night with the hockey coach, Coach Frenchy. So let's start in there. We have yesterday, Mr. Enortap, Gary Cournoyer won the show last night. Another W. He doubled now the double digit of the season with Andy Koivula. And then we have, of course, Mr. Enortap, they the lead. I have all kind of stuff like that. Just, it's not my list of grocery, but it's just about my about that one over there.
You were the one making all that noise with the paper earlier. Jeez.
Yeah, I think so.
No,
that was you.
It was
making
not
all
me.
that
The
noise.
super was really far away from me. I did not know.
I thought it was you, Enortap.
I was focusing on what you said about the views on the show tonight, so I did not no time to play with my
coach. You're always very focused on what we're saying.
Here you go, guys. It's time for the Frenchy Quiz, guys. Time to participate, to have a great time with us. The winner tonight get another fantasy guide of the Elite Prospect. We wish good luck for everybody. Gary Gournoy could get my email. Yeah, I did send to you with this fantasy. And don't forget, guys, our full fantasy hockey season 3 is done by the Hockey Nation. So glad to having everyone in the house tonight. Here we go, guys. We don't see Luc Laforcine, by the way.
Mon ami?
Maybe notre ami Luc is hiding right now in the closet and waiting for the contest tonight. Who knows what could happen? You never know what could happen. Here we go, guys. Ready to rock and roll.
Somehow I doubt it.
Here we go. Question number 1, guys. Which Bruins player played the most game from the list below franchise? Marchand, O'Reilly, Cashman, Middleton, or Shara? Good luck, everybody. So, we start with not an easy season, not an easy one. Here we go. Good luck, everyone. Mark is on fire in the chat. Make order for. Here we go. Luc Laforcine.
Oh my God, is he ever right?
Pop up. Luc Laforcine is in the house. He was study. I'm sorry, guys. He was in the closet to study with his Walkman. Look, he still have his Walkman in the closet. That's where he got all the stuff right there. Here we go, guys. Austin Allen is in the house. Go with A. RJ would go with D. Mark with E. Ronnie Odette with C. Frankie with D. Mark Elliott with B. Everybody got pick up here there. Thanks so much to be with the Hockey Nation Live Show tonight. Leon go with B. Luc Laforcine with B. Maurice with D. Wesh with E. GSM is D. The fact I like when we do contests, Frenchy Quiz, both of you, you give me some the purpose of your answer. I like to hear that. So Gary Cournoyer go with D about that one. That Roy go with E. Randy Crux with D, CG with D, Sebastian with D. Guys, we have a lot of great answer right there for the people. And when I said a good answer, I don't say the right answer. Just say they have a lot of answer in the chat. And then we are careless with A. Start with the champion so far. Let's start in with Mr. Enortap. What would be this answer?
You always do this, Coach. I thought this was going to be an easy question as soon as I saw it, but then I saw from the list below, because I know it's Ray. I know it's Ray Bork, but
yes, it is.
He's not there. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with old age here, and I'm gonna go with C. Cashman.
Marko.
So just to be clear, so not overall career games played, but played for Boston, right?
Yeah, for the Boston Bruins only.
Yeah.
Or for Boston only.
Yeah, that's how I put the franchise.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a pure guess, but something tells me maybe Rick Middleton.
Rick Middleton, like many in the chat, is this Randy? Randy, is this Mr. Enortap or Marko have the right answer? Let me pick up my my stuff here, and I'll go over there. Here we go. Enortap scored the first goal of the night. About that one over there, we have Ronnie Odette, King of Gamer. Enortap, and now we have 0.5, the first 0.5 of the night. Randy Walkman changed at the last second, and we have to give credit. He changed it, and we give him raise it right there. So congratulations. Question number 1. Let's move on. Question number 2. We're going to run 5 questions tonight on this show tonight. Here we go. Which player below did not win the Hart Trophy 3 times during their career? Ovechkin, Shore, Lafleur, Morenz, or Bobby Orr? Who did not win the Hart Trophy, MVP of the NHL? Good luck, everyone. There you go. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be awesome. RJ go with B. Mark go with D. C. Okay, let's C or D. Austin go with B. We have Frankie said that. Leon is D. Mark Elliott with A. C. G go with D. Real Deal go with A. Ovechkin. Ronnie go with B. West go with D. Luc Laforcine go with B. Frankie go with A. GSM go with E. King go with C. Randy Walkman go with A. Sebastian go with B. Gary Connery go with C. Here we go. During time, Mr. Marko, we'll start with you.
So again, this is one of your Sesame Street questions, like 70s or like older players, and then Ovechkin, which is a totally different era. I don't remember Ovechkin winning more than 2. So, but it could. I think maybe you're bitter. Maybe Lafleur only won 2, and you're still angry about it because I know he's your favorite player. But I'm going to go with what I think it's going to be A, Ovechkin. But it could be that you're bitter that Lafleur only won 2.
No problem. JSM go with E, King with C, Jake with C, Roy with B, Croc with C, Maurice with A. Here we go, Mr. Enortap.
Marko, I think your logic is very good. I'm back. I go back to the Lafleur era, and I'm pretty sure he only won it twice. And I think coach is very upset about that. So I'm going to go with C, Lafleur.
C for Lafleur. He did it again. Enortap on that one over there. He scored the second goal of the game. And King of Gamer did also with 2 good answers so far. But we have Mark, Gary, Jake, Crux, and KLS are all the scorer of this second answer tonight. And we have Rooney Odette with 1 good answer.
But Coach, do I get
Go ahead.
Half?
But Coach, do I get at least 0.5 for
0.5.
understanding like your psychology behind the answer?
I thought it was well reasoned out.
Here we go. What is the highest number of the goals scored by one team in the second game during the Stanley Cup final only, not during the playoffs, during the Stanley Cup final? How is the highest number? Is it 6 goals to win the W? The 7, the 8, 9, 10 is only for one particular team and not for both team for the total score, right? So what is the highest number? Here we go. Easy one.
Easy one.
Always easy.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Here we go. We have Austin and Mark with D. Whoa, we have more now. Maurice Rabiot with E. We have WWW with C. JSM with D. Randy go with E. We have Sebastian. RG with C. Luc Lafontaine with E. We have King with D. Gary with D. Frankie with C. Thanks so much. Try to pick up here. And then we have Andy with B. Andy, welcome back in the house. Jonathan, Mr. Enortap.
I'm just trying to think if this is a trick question, but I'm pretty sure it happened this year. Didn't Vegas score 9 goals in the final, in one of the finals games? I think they did. I'm going to go with D.
The Sharks are in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. And Mr. Enortap go with 9. Here we go.
Vegas.
Mr. Enortap. Mr. Marko.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it too. So to not be boring, I guess, and I guess I'll.
Come on, Marko.
Maybe somebody. Yeah, like that. I'm pretty sure it's 9, but maybe somebody did 10 before, so we'll go with E. We'll try E. Just so people.
Nobody did 10, Mr. Marko. It's a 9 on that one, but enough that you score, but not good enough because King of Gamer is still tied with you, 3-3 for Game of Gamer. But we have few people score 2 goals now. We have Mark got it, Gary Cournoyer. We have Crux, KLS, and they have new players score 1 goal. GSM, Sébastien, Marc Elliott, Léon Renault, Roy, and the last one. The last one is Sharks. I apologize, Sharks. I apologize, Sharks. Don't be upset about that. Question number 4. The Stanley Cup did not record a shortened goal during the hat-trick performance. So I apologize. I should put that. Which player? It was. Maybe it's over. I don't know. Here we go. Here we go. I think I was missing something over there. Which player among those hat-trick scorer and the Stanley Cup did not record a shortened goal during the hat-trick performance? Is it Stone, Gretzky, Mez, Hodge, or Gordy Orr? Here we go. It was funny.
Mets. Who the hell is Mets?
Dan Mez.
Never heard of that guy.
Oh, that's an oldie. Oldie.
He's a really old player. I think 1933, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
It was Don Mez from 1940 to 1949. Here we go. Austin, you are right. You are 1-1 for Austin. I forgot to mention your name, by the way, Austin. I apologize. Randy said D. All right, Randy. Ronnie, apologize, Ronnie. Here we go. Mark go with A. Stone. Leo go with E. RJ go with B. Then GSM go with D. Austin go with B. Frankie go with E. Sebastian go with A. Mark go with D. Ronnie go with E. Luke go with B. Jake go with A. A real deal go with E.
Coach, did you have rabbit ears to watch Mets play in the 1930s?
No,
Did
it's
the rabbit
Enortap. He
ears
talked about
work?
him. He watching Enortap was there
Yeah.
when we started
It's
season.
always Enortap. Yeah.
Maurice go with E. Triple go with D. Gary go with A. Claude go with C. Andy with B. Croc with E. Mr. Marko.
So two points of reasoning here. So the last question was kind of like a Vegas related question. So, did you find like a blog or like some graphic and you stole two bits to come up with quiz questions? So it would be Mark Stone. That's one possibility. Or the other one that's tricky here is Gretzky. Like, you would think, oh, Gretzky is the top at everything. So, of course, Gretzky would have scored every type of goal, one on his ass, like one shorthanded. So I think it would be too easy, Coach, like two Vegas answers in a row. So I'm going to go with B, Gretzky.
Gretzky for Marco about that one. Roy go with E. King go with B. Mr. Enortap.
I agree with Marco on this one. I'm going to go with B as well.
Here we go. And after I go with D on that on the B on that one,
B.
like Marco. You nailed it, both of you, on that one over there. Congratulations. But King did not give up. Mr. Enortap is still at 4 with you. But Ronnie Odette is at 2. And then we got Austin Allen score on that one. But look at Watson and RJ and new people have new people. Though all the new people have a goal. A lot of people have at least one answer tonight. So a good job about everybody. Last question tonight between King and, of course, Marco Labi. Forgot to mention your name about that one. You got one good answer. Let's go. Last question tonight.
1.5, actually.
We talk about Paul Byron. How many goals Paul Byron did between 21 years old and 29 years old? 70 goals, 75 goals, 80 goals, 85 goals, or 90 goals. Good luck, everybody. I keep the best of the night at the last one on that one tonight. Here we go. Good luck, everyone.
So he would be 89, 90. That would be.
Real go with A. Right. Mark go with C. Mark right now
is it a
4, by the way?
Coach, only NHL goals?
Yes. Claude Richard, he go with A. RJ go with B.
Regular
season only. Austin go with B. Leo go with A. Mark go with B. Triple go with C. Mr. Enortap, triple go with C. It's not matter because King is the one. Cracks go with B. We have Andy go with E. Ronnie go with A. Gary go with B. Maurice go with D. Frankie go with F. Frankie, welcome back in the house, by the way. Thanks so much. Then we're going to wait for a little bit more people about that. And Austin Lord Byron. Here we go. About that one. Jay go with C. Luc Lafontaine go with D. I did not get the king of gamers so far. Cracks go with B, by the way. And Sebastian go with C, by the way. During the time, Mr. Enortap, what is your answer?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, I'm just trying to think of how old is he now?
33, if I can recall it properly.
So 33. So we have to go back, I think, 4 years. So the last 4 Montreal years would not probably count, although he was here more than 4 years. Oh
Guys,
man,
he's just turned 34.
34. Okay.
King said D.
I don't think.
You want my psychological analysis?
I don't think it's that high.
Enortap?
I mean, I could play it safe, Marco. And
so the question
go with
is,
D is.
let's see that. Think of it this way. Think of it this way. On the night that Paul Byron retires, would coach be mean enough to come up with a graphic where he scores less goals or more goals? Like, is he going to want to make Paul Byron look less prolific or more prolific on the night that he
That's a good point.
retires? So no matter what the answer is, if it's not D or E, then I think coach is just mean. So we'll have to see what the right answer is, but either way, it will tell us a lot about coach.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards, I mean, I have to play this smart, right? I'm leaning towards C to be different than King, but I got to play it safe. I'm going to go with D as well. I'll share the victory or the loss.
All right, Marco.
Geez, Enortap. You got to go for that chair ahead of you, right? Like you got to beat out your
I'm in that position
above.
right now, though. I'm in that position, so I can afford to play it safe.
You need that killer instinct. You need that killer instinct. I'm think coach here was a bit mean towards Paul Byron. I'm gonna go with A 70.
70. All right. I will give you a tips right now, and I will give you your answer if I would said that to you. How many games Paul Byron missed in the last 4 years, from 30 to 34 years old?
Oh, he
missed a lot a game.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So if you think about this, if he scored 98 goals during his career, he did not score a lot in the last 4 years. So he did a lot between 21 and 29 years old. That would be my conclusion on that one. And both of them are right, ladies and gentlemen, with 85 goals. KO Gamer dominate completely with Enortap. Both of you guys have 5 good answers. 5 and 5 perfect game.
Thanks,
on
King.
that one over there. So
I got to give credit to King for that one.
On that one. Here we go. Guys, that's conclude the show tonight on the Great Locker Room Report. We'll be back tomorrow night, 9 o'clock for another Ab Nation. Until the season does not start, we're going to continue a lot of Ab Nation during the week. When the NHL is back, we're going to do those nights when the Montreal is not live. The Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday or Friday. I'm going to talk about the hockey NHL overtime show. So great performance, all in the chat. Thanks so much to be a part of the show. Don't forget to click on the like if you don't mind when you leave the building. That'd be great. And of course, we want to finish the show as we do all the time for everybody. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. Yes, you have greatness inside of you like you do all the time. You bring your best of the best on the Wednesday night of the Locker Room Report show. Until the next time, my friend, we want to wish, of course, said thank you for all the moderator who was in the show tonight. I think we have got only Luciano, by the way. Great job, Luciano. Then we want to thank all the people with all the members of the channel. And we want to thank all the people who have been show up tonight with the great comments and during the show tonight. But of course, we want to thank both co-hosts. They bring their top game A. And next time, don't forget your shies. You know what kind of shies you play your role inside of that show, Mr. Marko, for sure. Until next time, thanks so much, both of you. Be well, be health. Find a way not only to dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the second half of what, Mr. Enortap?
Your 2023.
You did it again. Thanks so much, everybody. Algie Calabron, Marko, thanks so much. And Mr. Enortap, thanks so much. Look forward to see you Sunday night for another weekly recap, Montreal Canadiens. Have an amazing, great night, everybody. And of course, Hockey Nation said to one more thing. We love you, people. An amazing, great night, everybody. See you next time.
Good night, Marko. Good night, Coach. Good night, Hockey Nation.
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
We have to stay for a physical examination and our physical after the show.
Yes. Next time, Marko, don't forget to put the Enortap in the penalty box. If he talk more about 1 minute, he took 8 minutes 46 seconds with the report of the Didwood Smith verification.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night. Oh. Booyah!